Welcome to the Death Row and Executions channel. I'm Paco Rivera. You can also follow me on Facebook for updates and more Death Row news. There will be a link to my Facebook in the description below. Also, check out my other channel here on YouTube called The Maximum Sentence, where I cover recent crimes and convictions. There will be a link for that as well. The state of Louisiana hasn't executed anyone in 15 years, since the year 2010. And suddenly, they planned 2 executions for this month, 2 days in a row. On Monday, March 17th, Christopher Sepulveo, and on the next day, Tuesday, March 18th, Jessie D. Hoffman Jr., the case we will be discussing today. Louisiana has 63 inmates on death row. However, 81-year-old Christopher Sepulveo died of natural causes on death row in Louisiana a couple weeks ago on February 22nd, before he could be executed. I updated everybody about that on my Facebook. Like I said, the last time Louisiana executed a death row inmate was in the year 2010. Gerald James Bordelon, for the kidnapping, indecent assault, and murder of his granddaughter. So Bordelon was executed in 2010, and that was 8 years after the previous execution. In recent years, Louisiana has had great difficulty obtaining the drugs necessary for executions. So they have followed the course of the state of Alabama and will begin using nitrogen gas instead. By the way, this is my 96th video on this channel, and this is the first time that I was unable to locate a mugshot or photo of the death row inmate about to be executed. My guess is the media might get a hold of some as we get closer to the execution date. I emailed the Louisiana Department of Corrections twice, and they finally responded with a message that they do not release mugshot photos to the public. This is the attachment that I received with a message that reads, "The information you are seeing," I think the person meant to write seeking. "The information you are seeking is not a public record." The information I was seeking was a picture. He's a convicted felon, and his mugshot can't be released? Unbelievable. Anyway, I was also not able to find a photo of the victim in this case, but that problem I've had a few times already since I started this channel. Jesse Hoffman was 18 years old when he committed the crime that got him sentenced to death. He's now 46 years old. On November 27th, 1996, one day before Thanksgiving Day, 28-year-old Molly Murphy-Elliott left work from her office located in downtown New Orleans in Louisiana. She was an account executive with the Peter Mayer Advertising Company. Molly had plans to meet with her husband, Andrew Elliot, for dinner later that evening. But Andrew, known more as Andy, knew something was wrong when the hours were going by without hearing from Molly, who did not meet with him for dinner, and he contacted police to file a missing persons report. That same night of the 27th, a couple walking in New Orleans saw some clothing and some items strewn on the ground in a parking lot, and they thought it looked suspicious, as if something bad had happened there. They called police, who retrieved the clothing and the other stuff, and also discovered with the items 3 ATM receipts for a Regions Bank in eastern New Orleans. Surveillance video was reviewed at the bank, where they can see a white woman withdrawing money while a young black man was standing next to her. He was clearly seen wearing a jacket with the word valet on it. On the following day, Thursday, November 28th, Thanksgiving Day, a fisherman who was setting up everything to begin fishing had discovered the nude body of a young woman on a dock by the Middle Pearl River in the town of St. Tammany Parish in Louisiana. Apparently, in Louisiana, towns are known more as a parish instead of town. The medical examiner later concluded that the victim had been shot once in the head. Because of the missing persons report that was filed by Andy Elliot the night before, he was asked to go to the morgue to identify the body. The dead woman was, in fact, Molly Elliott. Investigators learned that the valet parking employees at the Sheraton Hotel parking lot, where Molly and other employees regularly parked their cars, all wore jackets with the word valet, very similar to the one the man in the Regions Bank surveillance video was wearing. A manager at that parking lot was questioned, and he told investigators that the only employee who got off work for a 1-hour break during the time that Molly went missing was a man named Jessie Hoffman. The manager also told investigators that Hoffman did not return to work in 1 hour. He returned 2.5 hours later. Police detained Jesse Hoffman and took him to headquarters for questioning. When they asked Hoffman about his whereabouts during the time period that Molly went missing, he first said that he left work and took a bus to East New Orleans to deliver medicine to his girlfriend. When investigators were able to dispute that story, Hoffman came up with another one, and it's one hell of a story. Oh, you're going to love this one. Remember, this is an 18-year-old kid, frontal lobe not fully developed, as you will see. Hoffman told investigators, while being questioned, that 2 black men forced him into a car. Inside the car, there was a white woman with a towel wrapped over her head. They drove to an ATM at the Regions Bank and ordered the woman to withdraw money while he stood beside her, watching her. After driving to another location, they stopped near a bridge, and then the 2 men forced him to have sex with the woman, or they will kill him and his girlfriend back home. So he did as he was told. It appears that by this time in the year 1996 that Hoffman knew something about DNA, and how investigators informed him that biological evidence had been collected from the dead woman and submitted to a lab for testing to compare to his DNA, which is why he gave the story that 2 men forced him to have sex with the victim. Hoffman then said that the woman was later let out of the car, she was freed and allowed to go, and that he was driven back to a bus stop where he got on a bus and went back to work. That story changed once again when Hoffman said that after he had sex with the woman, one of the 2 men got out of the car with the woman and walked down to an area by the river. He said he did not hear gunshots, but that the man then came back, got in the car, and that's when he was taken to the bus stop. I can only guess that Hoffman realized how ridiculous his stories were and then changed it one last time, saying, okay, I did kidnap, rob, and violated the woman. But she got a hold of my gun, and we began struggling for the gun and fighting for the gun, and it accidentally went off. Yeah, shooting her right in the head. Jessie Hoffman's girlfriend in New Orleans would later testify that she and Hoffman went shopping later that night, and he paid for everything with cash. Do you think the jury at his trial bought any of those stories? No. Jessie Hoffman was found guilty and sentenced to death. Once again, aside from being unable to locate a mugshot photo of the death row inmate, I was unable to obtain any photos of the victim in this case. There was also a lot of confusion regarding her name while I was researching this case. Almost every case file and media report have the victim showing her as Mary Molly Elliott with 1 T. I found her gravesite photo showing the name Molly Murphy-Elliott with 2 T's. And then there's a blog from her cousin who wrote about the case giving the name as Molly Murphy-Elliott with 1 T. So I'm not sure which is right. Best I can tell, Molly grew up in Arizona, and that is where her body was eventually taken to and buried. She also lived in the state of Washington before settling with her husband, Andy Elliot. They apparently lived with 2 dogs in or near New Orleans, Louisiana. Some reports show the town of Covington, which is about a 40-minute drive from downtown New Orleans. Molly had married 2 years before she was killed. According to the cousin, who I believe is named Abigail Scott, she wrote, "Molly Murphy-Elliott was my cousin. I was a flower girl in her wedding when I was 6 years old. 2 years later, we had to bury her. The ache in my chest seemed to fill up the entire room. I remember watching my parents collapse into our pain. 8 years old, thinking of the pink dress with the pink rosebud that Molly had sent to our home just months before. The one that she picked out for me. How beautiful she looked on her wedding day." Please remember to hit the subscribe button for more death row and upcoming execution stories so that you're alerted when the next video comes out. You can also follow me on Facebook for updates. There will be a link to my Facebook in the description below. My name is Paco Rivera. Take care and bye for now.